this. Let me introduce myself. My name is Michael Barbieri. I'm State Representative for the 18th District, and I am the prime sponsor in the House, and Senator Sokola is the prime sponsor in the Senate. I would like to thank Delaware Coalition Against Gun Violence for coordinating this conference. I would also like to thank those individuals who have traveled from near and far to speak today because of the importance of this legislation. It's never easy to take on a difficult piece of legislation, especially when it is surrounded by misinformation and misunderstanding. This bill was touted as an attack on the mentally ill. It has also been identified as a way for government to single out people considered controversial to take their weapons. Let me assure you that neither is even close to an accurate understanding of the legislation, but rather a distorted perception, influenced by our fear of compromising Second Amendment rights. I believe that this bill saves lives while still respecting law-abiding citizens and their Second Amendment rights. As a mental health professional, I have worked for over 30 years advocating for adequate treatment and support for services for those suffering from mental illness. As a mental health professional, I have also recognized that in most cases, the person suffering from mental illness is the victim of violent crimes, not the perpetrator. This bill is not designed to go after persons suffering from mental illness, but rather to allow for a mechanism to intervene when a person who is struggling with mental illness crosses a threshold where they may be a threat to themselves or others. Failure to act effectively may result in a person using a weapon to kill themselves, possibly kill others, and at the least be incarcerated for a number of years for taking such action. I think we have a right and an obligation to protect that person. For clarity, let me discuss the key components of this bill. This seems to be the most benign part of the bill, where it establishes that a person who has committed a crime but has been found not guilty but mentally ill, or guilty but mentally ill, or not guilty by reason of insanity, or incompetent to stand trial, those categories of people are considered to be people who should be persons prohibited until they begin to function better and are able to make the rational decisions to carry a lethal weapon. I don't think that section of the bill has caused much concern. The second section seems to be the one causing most of the consternation. In the second section, the bill creates a new tool for mental health professionals to notify police if, in their professional opinion, they believe a patient is a danger to themselves and others. Once notified, the police can investigate. After an investigation, if the police believe that there is a threat, the Attorney General's office would petition the courts to have that individual declared a person prohibited from possessing and or purchasing firearms. This section was not developed in a vacuum. It was not developed to go after any particular gun owners. It was developed as a byproduct of a considerable amount of discussion between the Attorney General's office, the mental health community, the NRA, and colleagues for whom I have a great deal of respect in the House of Representatives. We tried to ensure that every effort was taken to protect individuals' rights, but also to allow for reasonable intervention. Currently, if a mental health professional, based on their training and awareness of the individual identifies that there is a potential harm, there is a block in what can be done. We can notify the police, but they cannot necessarily do anything. There's nothing that the police can do in order to prevent this from happening. We also can notify the victim, but there's nothing the victim can really do. We may suggest arming the victim, but that may not be a good idea. So, what happened in Aurora, Colorado? There was a gunman who was identified by a mental health professional as having issues and having concerns and maybe willing to harm someone or maybe wanting to harm someone. No one could take action in this case. Police were notified, nothing necessarily could happen, and as a result of that, several people were killed, and we have people to testify on that today. With this bill, an investigation can begin and report to the AG's office can occur. If the AG's office believes that there is sufficient evidence, the AG must bring before the judge and request that the individual be declared a person prohibited from possessing a weapon. At that time, if the individual is in possession of a weapon, the judge can issue a warrant allowing police to remove the weapon if the individual does not surrender them voluntarily.